Okay, my name is Paul Quarter from Perfect Golf Event, and today we're going to talk about golf event formats. For Perfect Golf Event, we work with about 1,500 events a year, and we spend a lot of time helping people launch new events or energize existing events. And so we're going to go through some real-world examples of what some of the people are doing with their events now. A couple of quick housekeeping notes. Don't worry. You can take notes if you like, obviously, but don't worry about it if you don't. I'll be glad to send you a copy of the presentation. I'll give you my email address at the end. It's also here, paul@perfectgolfevent.com, so you can have a copy of the slides if you'd like. And there's a couple of handouts you can download from the handout section. If you have questions, there's a place you can put in questions, and I'll entertain those at the end. I'm glad to stay on as long as we need to. I have another webinar coming up in an hour, but if there's any questions, I'll be glad to do it. And I'm also open anytime you want to call me with specific questions about your event. So thanks again for listening, and let's jump in here. When you run a fundraising golf event, obviously you're trying to raise money. It's called a fundraising golf event. You want to introduce new supporters to your organization. That's a really nice benefit if you have a successful event, that new people come to the event. And remember that 75% of people who play in a charity golf event are guests. So you do get the opportunity to introduce new people to your organization. You get to keep your existing supporters sort of network together with you, and you provide players with a great experience so they can return next year. That's one of the keys we're going to talk about today, is what would make the players come back next year to your event, what makes your event different than other events that are out there. We're going to focus a bit about your event flow, meaning there's things that have to happen as you're planning your event. You've got your pre-event marketing. So what do you have in place that's going to attract players and sponsors? Again, other than hey, we're going to have golf and a box lunch and an awards reception. What else is out there that makes it interesting? What's happening prior to tee off? When players arrive early, they're wandering around. What do you have to keep them engaged and entertained before tee off, so they just don't look? You see them, they go hit a couple balls, and they're standing around waiting for things to start. You got to focus on that particular area of time. Then what's happening on the course, so golfers remember. They'll say, hey, that was wonderful stuff happening out there on the golf course that were entertaining beyond just the round of golf. And then what's happening after your event? People come in, they're turning the scorecards in. What's your grand finale? Do people just look at the scoreboard where somebody's got some wild thing that they posted a low score and they grab a beer and go home? So you want to think about the whole day of what's happening and when the golfers and sponsors leave and they say, wow, that was really a full day. We had a lot of cool stuff going on. And I give you an example. Here's an event we did in this past year. And when you look at the registration highlights and what we presented, this is what we said to the people coming to the event. Look at all the stuff that's happening before we tee off. Here's the stuff happening on the golf course. And here's the stuff that's happening after golf. And so this is a theme that I'll cover several times in this presentation, in that you have to look at your event and say, when I do this, what does my event say? Does it just say, oh, we're going to have, again, box lunch, golf, some awards, maybe a couple contests? What's different? So I love it when I can sit down with an event and I tell them, hey, what are your highlights for the day? Tell me what's going to be out there, so the players and sponsors will take time from their schedule and join you. We have a lot of people on the call, and some of the people are new to the business. So just give me a second, because I'm going to use some terminology when we go through this, and I'm going to talk about some things. So I'm going to quickly review a couple of terms so you've got it. So if you're an experienced organizer or PGA professional, be patient with me for a minute, and then we'll be done with this section. But it's terminology I'm going to use as we go through some of the examples of live sites. So here you've got things that will get involved in the contest. You've got hole-in-one contests, and then basically a hole-in-one contest is where someone, if they make a hole-in-one on a par 3 hole, they get a prize. And the prize can be anything valued from $1,000 to $50,000. It could be cash, golf trip, non-golf travel, experiences, like driving on a NASCAR track, major sporting events, vehicles. They're insured events, meaning you as a nonprofit are going to pay for the coverage. Say it's $300 to cover a $10,000 hole-in-one prize. So you pay $300 premium. Somebody makes a hole-in-one. The insurance company will pay the $10,000 prize. It's a wonderful sponsorship opportunity, and we have a whole bunch of contests. And so these are first of all, that's the concept. You have to make a hole-in-one to get the prize. but you can make things pretty interesting. You can do, here's some of the event we're working with, and they put together some cool contests other than just typical cash. Pebble Breach, a bourbon trail tasting, a trip to Canada. You can do custom ones. I did last year a lot of events where we did custom hole-in-one contests. So, we had an event in Philadelphia, and they wanted to do a package where they could go to a Penn State when Penn State played Michigan. So we put a hole-in-one contest together to go to the Michigan game with airfare and lodging and all that. And that made the event different from everybody else. You can do things for the Masters. You can do hole-in-one contests for the Masters. So those are hole-in-one contests. One of our more popular was Cigar Tour Cuba. People love that one. Okay, now, or also you can do Ryder Cup Whistling Straits in 2020. The next area is called closest to the pin. And with closest to the pin, it's similar to hole-in-one contest, except the ball doesn't have to go in the hole. So somebody could win it by just being the closest to the pin during the day. And prizes can win from tickets and cruises and things like that. So here's an example of an event for Turner Construction. They offered our big ticket package for the winner of the closest to the pin. And you can do close to the pin contests on all the par 3 holes. A shootout. A shootout is held right after the event and selects a hole that finishes near the clubhouse so everyone can watch. Sometimes you'll have anywhere from 4 to 18 golfers, and I'll show you that when I do my examples. And the shootouts can range from $50,000 to $1 million. So the golfer makes the shot, and they win the prize. And this is an insured event, and it's usually held near the clubhouse so everybody can watch, and it's usually done after your event. And they're great sponsorship opportunities. So when Guardian School did their big shootout, obviously got Merrill Lynch to come in because it's tied to $1 million. So it's a great sponsorship opportunity. So a shootout's usually held after the event, and we'll talk about how they pick players for it in just a sec. You might have a putting contest. Usually a putting contest is held prior to the event. Golfers may pay to enter a qualifying round, maybe 2 putts for $25. Choose between an insured or guaranteed putting contest. And the difference is if you have an insured putting contest, you have the qualifying round and one golfer wins the qualifying round, then they'll get one more ticket, one more putt, and that putt, if they make it, they'll get the prize. So that's something you do with like tickets to the Masters. They have to make the final putt. It's an insured contest, and then the insurance company will pay for the 2 tickets to the Masters. A guaranteed winner one is something where you might do like our VIP package with tickets to pro sporting events. In that case, the winner of the qualifying round just basically gets the prize. You don't have to have a final putt at all. So that's putting contest. So we talked about hole-in-one contest, close to the pin, shootout, putting contest. And then if I use the term super ticket, which I'll do in a little bit, a super ticket is usually something that's sold at registration. And, rather than nickel and diamond, people were saying, hey, $10 to enter this, $10 to enter this, $20 whatever. You just put everything into one package. And so you might say, hey, if you buy the super ticket, it's going to be $25 or $50, and you get entry into the putting contest, the chipping contest. We're going to draw one person's name right here, like for $1 million raffle. That's how you can get your mulligans. We give you a raffle ticket. If you're doing a helicopter ball drop, you might give an entry into that. But it's a really nice way to consolidate everything in one thing. So when they come to registration, then they say, okay, you want to get into all these contests. Here it is. Here, for example, for this one we did for Southside, it was $50 to get in. Everybody buys it. And I do hear from people that say, hey, they're paying a lot to play golf. We don't want to nickel and dime them with some other charges. And I don't buy that, again, because the majority of people in playing in a charity golf event are guests. And so they haven't spent anything. So it's good for you to get into their pocket. They come there, they expect to do that, and we'll go from there. So that's a quick overview. And so I see a couple of you arrived a little after we started. Just remember, if you have questions, I'll get to them at the end. And secondly, I'll be glad to send you a copy of the presentation, so you don't have to, take detailed notes if you don't want, because I'll send you everything in a PowerPoint. Okay, now let's get into the format. Traditional 4-person scramble. Our philosophy is it's getting boring. It takes too long. You're out there for 5 to 6 hours. There's always some team we call being pencil whipped. There's always some team that comes in at 26 under where everybody's 18 or 19 under, and you wonder how that happened. People are spread out all over the course. and the biggest thing for me is that everybody does it. But if there's 300,000 charity golf events, 99.5 and maybe even more than that, maybe 99.9% of them do a 4-person scramble. And so your event, if you have an existing event, you're just like everybody else. And if you're trying to get a new event launched, the issue is going to be that you're not going to be different, and it gets a little more difficult uphill to get that started. We believe looking at different formats will energize your event, attract more golfers, and to me, the most important part is it gives the event more memorable feel, and people will come back next year and they'll say, hey, I have to play in this event. That was really a cool event. Here's what happened. They go home and tell their spouse or their friends, I played in this event. Wow, there's some great stuff. That gets a buzz, and that's how you build momentum. So let's look at some events, live events that are using different formats. And again, if you have any questions, let me know. Here's an event that had been done for about 20 years. They'd always done a 4-person scramble. They said, hey, we just got to energize this. We're losing people. They're getting bored. We're out there all day. So they changed their format. They went from, they added a couple of more par 3 holes. They added a Masters putting contest. And then they had a shootout for $1 million. So they took the golfers, they took the 2 golfers closest to the pin on the par 3 holes. They had 6 par 3 holes because they added 2. So 12 golfers came in. They had a chance to shoot for $1 million, and they finished their event with cocktails and hors d'oeuvres right by the the hole that where the shootout is, because you can hold a shootout on any hole you want. It could be from the fairway. And so it just added something new to their event, and now they've gone to this format permanently. Here's a new event that got launched, and it's always hard to launch a new event, again, because there's a lot of people out there that are doing events. And so this one, they came up with the idea of doing a 2-person scramble, which is going to be popular. So it certainly controls the cheating. So a 2-person scramble. They added a bunch of cool hole-in-one contests. It was based here in St. Louis. So they had Cardinal season tickets, Blues season tickets, Pebble Beach, chance to St. Andrews for 4 good hole-in-one contests. At the end, they took 10 players and had a $100,000 shootout. So the winner, if they made the shot, they got it. They won the $100,000, and they had one person got a shot for $1 million. And if they made the shot, $500,000 would have gone to the winner, and $500,000 would have gone to the Children's Miracle Network. So it was really not only a great format, but the finish of the event was great because they had all these people taking the shots. Everybody was out there with beer and all the things. It was sponsored by Dairy Queen. They all had Dairy Queen treats. So it was just kind of an interesting format, and they were very successful for a first-year event. There's a lot of events in St. Louis, but they were able to wedge their way in because they added some cool stuff. And I'll give you some numbers on these in terms of budgets in a bit. Here's an event. It's Island School that's down in Boca Grande, Florida. The event this year is going to be on February 7th, 2019, but it was sold out. When we started, it's been sold out. This year coming up will be our 5th year. After the first year, it's been sold out. You can't get into the tournament unless you buy a $10,000 sponsorship now because all the regular team spots are full. And this one we do 18 par 3 holes. So we move the pins up, so you're shooting from the fairway on some of the regulation holes. We have a $10,000 hole-in-one contest on each par 3, and we take the 18 golfers closest to the pin during the event on all the par 3 holes. They come in and they shoot for $1 million, and then we have the winner of the shootout gets $10,000. Now, what a lot of people will say to me is, well, this must be a big organization. We can't afford this and all that stuff. The Island School is a charter school for kindergarten through 5th grade. I think they have 60 students. It's a great school, very helpful, got a good reputation, but people play in this not because of the school. Although once they learn about the school, they're excited that they're supporting it. They played in it because it's really a cool format, and they're like, good, I don't have to play in another 4-person scramble where I'm out there for 6 hours. And when you do the par 3 tournament, we play with 6-person teams because you're done in 3.5 hours. You have 6-person teams, so there's a lot more networking there. And it's just really a fun format. This event last year, I think, netted $143,000. And we're going to do better this year. what happens too when you do that is you end up creating more sponsorship opportunities. So besides your normal sponsors like presenting sponsors and things, you add a hole-in-one sponsors, you add $1 million shootout sponsor, you have a putting contest sponsor. So when you add things to the format, it gives you more sponsorship opportunities, and then that covers the cost of the contests. Here's one we did for Rollins College. Again, they wanted a new event, but they wanted to get something interesting. So they had 9 par 3 holes. They played a 9-hole tournament. 9 par 3 holes. They had a $10,000 hole-in-one contest on each one. Then they had a shootout at the end for $1 million. So 9 golfers took a shot. If they made it, they'd get $1 million. They had a putting contest for Masters tickets, which was insured. And since it was for the lacrosse team, and this is where it's fun to think about things like this. Since it was for the lacrosse team, we actually had a long drive contest using a special thing that holds a golf ball, and you use it like a lacrosse stick, and people could throw it, and it was a lot of fun. So again, new event, but a lot of fun because it had this new format to it. Here's another new event. This event had been around for a number of years. We just finished this event in November down in Houston. Again, they had traditionally for years done 4-person scramble. They decided to switch the whole format. So they did 18 par 3 holes, 18 chances to qualify for the shootout. They had a nice putting contest. And actually this event there was a hole-in-one, so that added more excitement to it. So again, you could tell that when they're out promoting their event, what they're saying is this is really going to be fun. And that's what you have to think about with your event. Is it going to be fun? Are people going to want to take time away from their work and their families to spend time with you? Well, give them the stuff, give them some reasons to do that. Sometimes this is becoming a more popular format. Again, this is one we did for the Epilepsy Foundation. 9 par 3 holes and 9 regulation holes. So they wanted to play, some of them wanted to play the regular golf course. So they wanted to have some holes where they use their driver. So we did 9 regulation, 9 par 3s. We had $10,000 hole-in-one contests on each one. 9 golfers came in and qualified for the shootout. And this one we gave $1,000 to the shootout winner to keep the budget under control. So you can modify, and I'll give you the budget numbers in just a second. You can modify this. And what we love to do is talk to you about your event, what your market's like, and we'll work with you on a format and a budget that'll make your event easy, different, but also affordable. This is one we do for a police organization. It's on a very exclusive golf course, so they want to play the whole golf course. So the course normally has 5 par 3 holes. So we just did a bunch of cool hole-in-one contests, and then we took the 2 golfers closest to the pin on the par 3 holes, because there's 5 par 3 holes. We had 10 golfers come in, and they took a shot for $1 million. We had a putting contest for PGA tickets, and then we had a helicopter ball drop, and I'll show you that in a second. Again, you can look, and as I try and stress, when you're working with your committee, I think what you need to think through on your committee is, let's take something like this, and now let's look at our event, and what are we going to put under each of these things. I love this format of pre-event, on-course, post-event, and what can you add to what's your event going to look like? And if you can get aggressive, you can make your event very attractive, and you can do it within a budget. Again, we can fit any budget. This is our highest end event. This one we do 18 par 3 holes, $500,000 BMW on each hole. I'll talk about the golden ticket in a minute. This one, 18 golfers come in, and on this one, whoever wins the shootout actually gets a $50,000 BMW every year. It's been sold out for 8 years, already sold out for this year. Now, this is not an inexpensive event. We play 6-person teams. It's $10,000 a team, but it sells out because somebody's going to get a BMW. And actually, we've had 2 hole-in-ones, so we've given away 9 BMWs, 7 for the winners every year, plus the 2 hole-in-ones. So it's a really popular event. But again, people say to me, well, that must be a big organization. No, it's for an inner city school in St. Louis called Loyola Academy. Loyola Academy has about 65 students, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So it's not like doing it for the United Way or American Red Cross or Cancer. I mean, it's not for the biggest organization in the world, but the format when we introduced it was so unique, people just came to the event, and it's on a really good golf course too. And again, creates more sponsorship opportunities. A couple more things we've added to events just to give you an idea. Here's something we added, and we think we were the first company to introduce this, but we took a hole on the golf course and we said, okay, let's give every team a shot for $1,000,000. So basically on this one, when they came up to a par 3 hole, they picked one player on their team, and that person took the shot for $1,000,000. And if they won, the team would split the $1,000,000 with the charity. So $500,000 to the team and $500,000 to the charity. It was a great sponsorship opportunity. We got a sponsor to cover it. Excellent way to attract players. And it was really fun because people came up. Of course, they picked one guy, had hit it in the water. We had one guy hit it 2 feet away. And you can do this for $1,000,000, or it's really inexpensive to do it for $100,000, which I'll show you in a minute. So it just adds more fun and doesn't slow up the golf course. We also do things called golden tickets, which we'll do on the golf course as well. And I have a whole different webinar tomorrow on top contests, but I'm just showing you things that you can introduce to make your event easy. So on this one, we sold it for $50. It's called the golden ticket. And if they hit the green on the designated par 3 holes, they can either win Probies, a Nike shirt, or gifts, or a gift card to a local restaurant. So for $50, they could end up getting about $200 worth of stuff. It was great. We sold a bunch of these. We had enough money to cover the winners and probably netted, 50% of what we sold. I think we sold about $10,000 worth of entries, and then we had about $5,000 in winning prize. Anyways, it really worked out well, and so that's called a golden ticket. And if you haven't done a helicopter ball drop, we've started adding these to our events. We did one recently in Jacksonville. They sold $27,000 in entry fees. They sold the golf balls for $100 each, and they netted $22,000 after the prize that they gave to the winners. So if you haven't done a helicopter ball drop, they're not hard to set up. We've got a program to do it for you. It's just fun to sell, and it's good because it's another way for people to support your organization. They don't have to be present to win. So take a look at that and we'll talk. So we have a whole thing, and it'll be in this presentation. We can set up the whole golf ball drop for you. Then you sell entry into it. Helicopter comes down, they drop the ball. They don't drop it on the green, obviously. They have the superintendent put a flag right in the middle near the hole that you're watching, and whatever ball's closest wins the prize. Neat thing to add to your event. Here's one, again, this is another example, Guardian School, where they added the helicopter ball drop. Not only did they do 9 regulation, 9 par 3s, $10,000 hole-in-one contest, but they added the helicopter ball drop. We talked about super tickets before. And again, I like super tickets because you can bundle them together with anything you want. So here's a Pebble Beach putting contest with $1 million shot. So, again, you'll be able to advertise when you go out to your audience, hey, come to our event. You're going to have a chance to putt to win a trip for 2 to the Pebble Beach. Somebody's going to have a chance to shoot for $1 million. And you can bundle in anything you want here, mulligans, raffle tickets, whatever you'd like. Here's an example of how to do it. So this shows you, excuse me, this shows you how the math works on it. And so, you sell as entry fees, sponsorships, and what you can net out of doing the different types of tickets. I won't go through the details, but you'll have a copy of this. So again, people ask me, the concepts, how much does it cost? Well, let's say you're going to do 9 par 3 holes and 9 regulations. So the insurance for 9 par 3 holes is $10,000. So that's, if it's $300 a hole. So it's $2,700 to have the contest, covers 144 players, covers multiple winners. And if you added it to the player fee, it would be $27 more. But you sell it as a sponsorship. And so you sell that sponsorship for $5,000 and it covers all your costs. If you want to do 18 par 3 holes, it's $5,400. Again, you can sell that as a sponsorship. If you want to do shootouts, you can do $100,000 shootouts. 9 golfers for $100,000 is only $575. 18 golfers is $1,100. You can get sponsors to cover that all day, and then you'll be able to advertise for your event. Hey, somebody's going to get a chance to shoot for $100,000 or $1 million or whatever you want. So they're not overly burdensome, especially if you do them as sponsorships. So these are examples I'll send to you. You want to be creative, so make your event unique. We'll be glad to set up a call with you and talk through things that'll work in your particular market with your budget and your audience. So, and if you go to our tournament shop, we've built a lot of the par 3 challenges in with 9 holes, 18 holes, whatever you need in terms of that. So get started. Make sure things to do is decide on your format. Make sure you're using your Perfect Golf Event website to, to feature the format and the contests. Add the sponsorships to cover the cost. If you haven't done a brochure, we'll go send you some sample brochures that people are using to promote their format. And again, if you need help or you want to talk about this, just give us a call. I'll be glad to talk to you about it. You'll see on some things, some tournament packages on the website, other things. If there's anything I can do, I'm going to leave this up, and I'm also going to look to see what kind of questions I have. But if there's any other thing I can do, just leave this up while I do. Email me. Feel free to call me. I love to talk to people. So let me just see what kind of questions we have. Oh, I'm sorry. Somebody asked, am I going to do the presentation? Yeah, just email me when you're done, and I'll be glad to send you a copy of the presentation. There's also some handouts that are there that you can download. So listen, I appreciate your listening. And if there's anything we do, let us know. And thanks a lot. Hope you'll join me for future webinars.